This week on the Pathways to Success, we're going to teach you how to build a YouTube channel from scratch.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to the Pathways to Success, where we help inspire, inform, and educate to help you find your unique pathway to success. And today on the show, I've got Jason Croft, video marketing strategist extraordinaire. Jason Croft, thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Absolutely, this is great. Glad to be here.
Podcast. I don't even know what this is anymore, right? So we have two channels I'm distributing now through the podcast medium as well as YouTube. So depending on where you are, welcome. So, Jason. So today we're going to talk about video marketing, and specifically since I'm on this journey to launch my YouTube channel, taking my podcast following and moving them over to video. Obviously we're recording on video right now. I want to learn the best way to do that, and that's why I brought in my good friend and video marketing strategist expert, Jason Croft. So, Jason, help us understand kind of some of the fundamentals, right? For someone starting their first YouTube channel, what are some of the basic principles everyone should be aware of when moving to video?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one and two very closely related. Number one is, what do you want? Why are you doing it?
Yeah,
that's number one. For some folks, there's a bigger business reason out the other side, and so how you go about and what you present on that channel is going to be very different than someone who, hey, I just want a YouTube channel. I'm a fan of PewDiePie. I want to play video games and just make a fun, entertaining channel.
Yeah.
That's a very different approach. Those two things. So one is that, and then the second, a very close second to that, is just do it. Just start making them and go, and not, and get out of your head and not sit there and overanalyze and how should I try? Because the only way you're going to know if it's right for you, if it's working, if your approach is working, is just make and do those, and they're going to be bad at the beginning, right? Like there's going to be a level compared to what you're going to do later and compared to what's in your mind, because you're used to watching Casey Neistat's videos or Gary Vaynerchuk. You're used to this production value and all this stuff, and I want to do that. And it's not bad to be inspired by that, but just know that in the beginning you're not going to make that, but make anyway and get that up there. So those are the first couple of.
So the first piece I got is establish clarity and kind of a mission behind it, like have one singular purpose instead of just kind of going crazy. But at the second time, just start creating and you start to develop. And that's what I learned with the podcast as well, because honestly, I didn't know what I was doing either. I just really enjoyed the process of creating, but somewhere along the line, I developed kind of a style and things like that. And I think there really is just magic and power in just creating and getting out of your head. So in terms of like production quality, are there things that everyone needs to have? Because I heard that people will forgive bad video quality if they have good audio quality. Like, give us some basics on that.
Yeah, that's a huge one. There's certain levels of, just make it. Grab your phone and make a video, and there's truth in that. But at the same time, there's little markers to quality, because there's getting found, and you can do these basic things to just put videos out there, but you also want to portray the right image, right? Once people do find you, right? So audio is a big one, like we're using right now. That's one of the hallmarks of pro video as opposed to amateur is, a good microphone, whether it's going right into the camera or you record on a separate device. But that makes all the difference in the world, rather than, we've all seen the videos that are, set up across the room and it sounds like it. And you're just like, what? A little basic lighting. We've got a little pop here. A lot of times natural lighting works, but adding one little, small light positioned the right way can just really, people won't even think about it, but the perception is there and better. And one of the other key things to doing any of these, even if you're shooting on your phone, is, you see how much background we have back here. The biggest thing that everybody does for some reason is they go and they stand in front of a wall, and there's a wall right here, and they're just flat up against it, and they stand there and let me take your picture, let me video you against that wall. And just having that depth increases production value and all. So those are some of the technical things that just,
So if someone's just starting out, right, like on a budget, let's say, I'm really bad with numbers, so maybe like under $500. Can you recommend kind of a camera, lighting, or audio setup? What can that afford you?
yeah, I mean, I would start from the camera side. Like I would put that money into decent couple of mics. Again, depending on what you're wanting to do, if you're doing an interview show like this, or if, single person show, a couple of mics, a small light kit, get a tripod, and then shoot on your phone. Get some gear, get a little cage thing. You can build out this full rig that holds microphone and light and mounts your phone to a tripod. And I would start there, because you're gonna make, you're gonna get really decent quality, but you're gonna stand out above so many by just having good audio and good lighting, and then just start producing and seeing what's working and seeing, what the audience resonates with.
So that's the capture method. So in terms of editing, and I know in my own experience and journey with editing, it's so confusing if you have no experience doing this stuff. Are there some like tools that are more user-friendly than the others? Like, what would you recommend for the first time, like, editor?
I would have somebody start. There's a program called Camtasia that is, and it's a great. It's like $100. It's super cheap, and it's two things. It's a screen recording software, and it's Mac and PC both. In this latest version, they've combined both of those, where it's really the same interface on both. And so you can actually, and because that's another way a lot of people make videos, right? They talk over what they're showing online if they're teaching, if they're doing something like that. So it's software that allows you to capture all of that, but it's also an editing software. And it's a really simple, and I use this word positively, it's like a really simplistic editing software. So I use it for my vlog episodes, because in some ways, it's even better and more intuitive than Premiere, which I use like for the show and just in the industry. So that's kind of a very common one, Adobe Premiere. But starting out in the basic editing, like, you just don't need the vast majority of what's there. And it's really intuitive, easy to use.
So Camtasia. Okay, cool. So I know something that I'm going to be wanting to do by the time. So we're recording right now, and I want to have one of those cool little sort of intros that you have on the vlog with the cool music and stuff like that. Is that, like, where do you get that? Is that like a basic thing that you download online? And like, I know After Effects is one of the tools that you use. Like, how do you create just a cool, simple intro?
Sure. One of the best resources is Fiverr.
Fiverr, okay.
Two amazing resources. One, Fiverr.com. For those not familiar, Fiverr.com, where people do whatever for $5, right? And it'll range, but you'll spend $5 to $20, and you can send them your logo, and they'll make. I mean, I've gotten for $10, I've gotten 10 versions of an animated, super high-end logo with audio and everything. It's amazing, and that helps you stand out. One little side note with that is don't go nuts with that. It needs to be 5 to 8 seconds max. Don't go people. Especially starting out, people go crazy with like, oh wow, look what I can make, and it's a 15 to 20 second, and people are done. Like, they're not watching at all. And then the other resource is a site called Intro Champ.
Intro Champ. Tramp. Not that website.
That's a different.
That's a different one. That's for a different show.
That's a different bookmark I have. Introchamp.com. And I think for an HD one, it's like $5.95, and they've got a library of like a couple of hundred, and it's instant. The extra cool thing about this is that it's not somebody going off and creating this, and whenever they get done with it, and then they send it to you like on Fiverr. This one's instant. It's all automated. So you put in your logo, you put in the text that you want.
Interesting.
And they'll give you a real-time preview of it, and then it's download.
So that's a web interface at all? It does it by itself? There's not a human involved?
Nope.
Whoa, Intro Champ.
Yeah, and there's
that's cool.
Of course
How much does that cost?
$5.95 for HD.
Because I was going to go to Envato Market. I already have After Effects. I mean, that's a complicated process for, I think, a lot of people. But I'm one of those guys that's like, I'm going to spend $1,000 on this intro, and I know I don't need to do that.
Right.
But that's too much for most people.
Oh yeah.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's especially, again, starting out
Yeah.
and going, and these little hacks, if you will, that you can just implement and put you way above, you know, the vast majority of people doing that. Yeah, and it's a great, and of course there's all sorts of crazy cheeseball ones, but there's some that are just perfect and sharp. I've used for clients, I've used for myself, that are really sharp.
And you can customize, because I mean, I don't want to have something that everyone else has, but there's enough out there that it's like.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I don't know if I've ever seen anything out there.
And the music also, it's part of it, or?
Yes, yeah. The Intro Champ has that as well.
Okay, so you can pick it. Okay, cool. So so those are the basics of like getting your video, crafting your intro and stuff. So now we're talking about YouTube specifically. How do you start getting found?
One of the biggest things is to be in the mindset of bringing your audience to YouTube. So that's it's really two-parters. So that's one part. So any connections, anybody you have is from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anybody you can drive over to YouTube, because, you know, 5 years ago, just creating a whole bunch of content on YouTube, it's a lot easier to just within the YouTube ecosystem getting found. Now it's just harder and harder. But at the same time, you're doing all that and bringing people over, you want to be optimized for YouTube. So a few of the best ways to do that are find those videos, those channels that are in your channel, your same niche rather, and you can do this with trending, like what's the latest hot stuff, but also just somebody who's coming up in search for that topic that you're on, and you go in there and you copy so much of their title.
Interesting.
There's a tool called TubeBuddy.
TubeBuddy, that's like a YouTube plugin thing.
Yeah, it's a little plugin that it does cost, but you can go in there and you can see their tags and what they rank for, and put those tags into your video, match those descriptions, do a matching thumbnail, because your goal in that, the reason to do all of that, is to end up on that sidebar of YouTube that is suggested videos. So when somebody's watching one video, they're watching, yours comes up next to them, because in the metadata, you've told YouTube, oh, your video.
What is
like
metadata?
This. That's the name of your video file. That's the name of your thumbnail. That is the tags. That's your description.
It's all the stuff around the actual video content then.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's actual the data in there.
Right.
That's what YouTube sees. And then to really optimize for that, and if you really want to grow that channel, you want to optimize for YouTube, and you want to keep people in YouTube, because one of the biggest things they're rewarding right now is watch time. It's like the biggest indicator.
Watch time, okay.
Yeah. So somebody comes over to your video, they watch 3 seconds of it, and then they're out. Well, that's a big hit to you. It's fascinating stuff. So many great people I've learned from on all of this stuff. But right now, that the current things are watch time. So if you bring people in, even if they go from your video and watch 10 other videos from other people, you're still being rewarded in that algorithm for bringing people in and having a whole lot of watch time. So just like Facebook, just like Twitter, like all these platforms are rewarding you more and more, especially YouTube and Facebook, for staying within the ecosystem. Okay. So don't send people away. Don't link out to other places in your description, especially if you're optimizing for YouTube. Now, if you just have a bigger reason to have
don't link out, so it's bad to put websites in descriptions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing everything wrong.
But it's a natural thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's...
Because people put like Amazon links, like whenever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that seems... Even the big guys do that.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you can't have a successful channel and do those things, because again, what's the bigger thing? So some people are making affiliate videos, right? And so their end goal is to have people to click out and go buy something, right?
Yeah.
So that needs to be their primary. They need to have that link in there. They're just gonna have to work a little bit harder on all these other areas to optimize that channel.
Okay.
And this is really for, again, optimizing on one, which I recommend, optimizing for kind of one channel at a time. I think your approach has just been fantastic, is you had the podcast and you've optimized for that podcast for 70 plus episodes before now you've gone in and said, okay, it's video time, and add in it, because now you're on a roll with the podcast, and that'll keep going. But now you can really, everything that you do, you can optimize for YouTube and do some of these things. So that's a great approach.
The thing that really confuses me is all like the metadata stuff, because as you know, I'm not a technical person, but those are things that are important, right? So what are the important sort of categories of meta? Like I know there's the tags, there's the thumbnail, there's the title. What else? What are the big categories of that?
Yeah, the big thing is the name of your video file, which a lot of people don't know.
Name of the file? So not the title of the video, but the file itself that you upload? Oh, do you see, I don't even pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I'm like Julian001,
right.
you know?
That affects it. Certainly the title.
Right.
Certainly the description. Tags are there. From what I'm hearing, it's less and less importance on the tags that are in there. So those are the big ones. The thumbnail, again, name of the file that you upload for the thumbnail.
See, that's crazy. I would never thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the things too to get found and be purposeful with, is having a thumbnail. Like, to me, it's second nature, and I think about that stuff, but that's still something that a lot of people are just like, oh, I threw my video up and there's what YouTube picked as my thumbnail of the video, right? And to get purposeful with that and design that. And
so some tips on creating a YouTube thumbnail. What are the easiest design tools that you could use if you're not getting fancy or don't even have Photoshop or something like that?
Yeah, I'd go to Canva. Canva.com.
Yeah.
They've got, the formulaic, and some of the best converting right now are the simplest, just big block letters.
Yeah.
And whenever you're designing it, because you've got and especially, if you do have Photoshop, or if you're in Canva and you've got your big monitor and you're watching like, oh man, this looks great. Shrink that bad boy down to thumbnail size. Get it way down there and see, is that going to grab somebody's attention? So it needs to, what it says or doesn't say, needs to grab attention and make somebody interested, but then the visual as well needs to be like, oh, that's intriguing enough. Let me see.
Yeah, Canva's really powerful. It's like it has specific templates for Facebook, for YouTube. Like it's already sized appropriately.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool, and it's absolutely free, and it's all web-based. So, yeah. So that's so those are some tips in terms of getting found. Like, I know, how important is it to reach out to other influencers in your space?
If you can do it, it's great. I mean, even the big boys, are doing that with each other. It's kind of an awesome thing about YouTube too, because it's not this zero sum, I've got to take his subscribers and stuff. You've got the big boys doing cross promotional videos. Yeah. So they'll get together like this, right? And they'll make 2 videos, 2 versions, and in each one, it's like, hey, go check out Julian cited, and this one, so that they're now taking their followers. Because again, what are people being rewarded for? Watch time overall. It doesn't matter that they're clicking over to the other person's channel. They're still in YouTube and they're still watching, and now they're subscribed to both.
Yeah, and that's worked for me well in the podcast as well, because I've been on The Sharp Gentleman, Blake Hamilton, shout out to him, Jake Thompson, Compete Every Day, and it's like, because if you go in there with the real sort of intent to serve their audience, it sort of organically happens. It's not a zero-sum game. Everyone helps everyone, and I think that's something I need to start doing for my YouTube channel, since I'm just kind of starting out. So that makes sense. When does it make sense to start paying for views? Give us some basics on that, or is that even something you recommend up front, or?
It's an interesting thing. I've played with it a little bit, just from the ranking. There's for ranking for terms, which is kind of a different animal than kind of optimizing to get found and grow a channel. When I've done it to sort of, I want to rank for, best chiropractor in Dallas or something like that. You start playing with that. It's been interesting. You got to be really, not crazy careful of oh, your channel's going to get banned or anything like that. But a lot of times they don't stick. You have to find the right gigs and the right, whether you're going to Fiverr or something like Conquer.com, and finding those right ones, because some are just complete bots and you actually lose them. They'll go away. So you have views and then they go. So it's really interesting. The better approach, honestly, is to take that money that you would spend and use it on YouTube ads.
See, that's where I was going. I wasn't even thinking about the third-party ones. Yeah, I was thinking about paying YouTube for views.
Yeah.
How does that work?
And that doesn't trend, you don't pay YouTube to get views, but you pay to advertise on other people's videos, and send them to your channel.
Do people do, because usually whenever I see ads, it's usually to sell like a product or something, not necessarily draw attention to a channel. Do people do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
It
that's
all
acceptable.
depends. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much does that cost? Like if I wanted to do that for Pathways, what would that cost?
I'm not sure on dollar amount. I haven't played with it a lot. I know that that's one of the big approaches right now. Alex Becker's channel, I know he's doing, his whole focus right now is build up his audience and his subscriber base with videos like this, teaching, giving, not selling anything in his whole channel, and people keep coming back. People subscribe. They love to be a part of this. But then he takes that list of subscribers and runs ads against who's watched the video, right? And they're still super cheap on YouTube. Video ads are compared to like Google AdWords and outside. And then he's got an audience of people who, so he's got 150,000 subscribers right now. So he's got 150,000 people to advertise to that are going to, oh, it's Alex Beck, rather than just like, okay, let me skip this as soon as possible. Oh, I'll listen for a second. And that's where he sells. So he doesn't ever sell on his channel. He sells on the ad,
Right.
when people are in that mode a little bit more and like, oh, I'll check this out. And that's just winning the day for him right now. It's just a genius strategy.
So talk to me about content. Like obviously this is an interview show, so I will produce videos with interviews of experts, right? But what makes compelling content nowadays?
I think it's a lot. I think it's story. I think it's. I think it's, certainly YouTube is still how to. It's the place that people come to how to do this. So when you can optimize, we talked about metadata on there. When you can optimize for that, it's a huge thing to win in that search category and come up on the side. You know, how do I produce my own show? How do I get hired? You know, how do all of those things when you approach it that way, and really teach. That can be I mean, that's the biggest place you need to teach and or entertain. You know.
Got it. Okay. So you are a video marketing strategist. You help people get found on video. You help level up their production, everything. So consult me live. You know what I mean? Like I'm very much in the beginning of my channel. There's so many rough edges around it right now. Like based on kind of what you've seen. Like for example, the teaching. I know I'm going to produce the interviews, right? But knowing what you know about my content, what would you want to see me teach that you think my audience would get value on?
Yeah, because that is absolutely what I would recommend. Is in addition to the interviews.
Yep.
I would, it should be you to the camera content, multiple times a week, a month. Having that content.
Yeah.
Teaching on whatever your bigger picture goal is. So for you, you've got products around and teaching around and speaking engagements around best practices on getting hired, on hiring, in that kind of world. So I would speak to that. So you would go in and say like, okay, who's my ideal client who needs this information, or who would hire me, the corporation that would hire you to come in to speak on that topic, and make content for them.
Okay.
And so make that one-on-one content.
So as far as kind of like what I've seen Pathways to be, because it is, I interview leadership, I interview people on leadership, personal development, health and fitness, business, entrepreneurship, like many topics that I think will help people find their unique pathway to success. Some people might find that too broad, but for me, that's what's naturally coming from me, and that's what I want to help people with. Do you see an issue with that strategy?
I don't. What I would add on to that strategy is what we just spoke about, because all of that is going to help you. When somebody who would bring you in to speak to their organization, for instance, when they see, like, ideally they're going to find you because they're looking at how to, best practices on hiring, like they boom, and they find you up there. Yeah. But then they see that you've interviewed this, and then
he does other things.
Exactly.
Right.
And just speaking to experts makes you an expert, in that space. Like, look at everybody.
Video marketing strategist. Yeah, right.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it really does, and it gives you a level of authority,
right,
way beyond someone who has only spoken to the camera and just like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this.
Yeah.
When you have this other layer of, like, essentially it's this show, it's this thing over here. The other thing that does is that gives you a tool to then go and get in front of every one of those people that you want to hire you and bring you into an organization.
Right.
Is go have them on the show. Don't wait and hope they find your channel, but go in there and say like, hey, I'd love for you to be on the show. I'd love to talk to you about this. And they are a potential client, or they know someone who's going to be. So it's multi-level. Like if you can do that, and you can have this kind of production value, like, that's a huge win.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like for me personally, it's the networking aspect, right? It's deliberately building my network. Yes, I'm serving my guests with this, but you're right. You mentioned like you become an authority just by being around other authorities. That's absolutely the truth, because every time someone comes on the podcast or the show, it's like they're kind of co-signing, like it's okay to be around this guy. I respect him, I trust him, I value him, or whatever, right? And that seems to happen even if it's not explicitly stated.
Right.
And also, they also become another promotional. Like I'm like when this episode goes live, I'm gonna share this, and so is Jason.
Right.
So it really is kind of a win-win situation, I think. So
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Anything else, Jason, in terms of best practices? Anything else you think our listeners and viewers should be aware of?
Yeah. The other thing is just creating a lot of content. Doing this a lot, and I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. One is there's the algorithm, right? So if you're optimizing for YouTube, it's going to reward you for creating more content. Certainly not just crap and you throw it up and no one watches it. You know, that doesn't help you, right? But if you're purposeful and you go in and do exactly what we've been talking about, which is think of your ideal client, think of what you can teach, and you do that, you don't have to do a daily, I'm in a crazy do it every day mode right now, but do 3 times a week. I mean, you hear this all over in content marketing, but consistency, but it's so very true. But again, there's a couple of reasons. There's the algorithm reason, and you get sort of rewarded up through the ranks that way. The more content, just new content, they reward that. But it's also personal, and it's you getting better so much faster. Not only because, I've done it 10 times this month instead of 3, so I'm that much better. But when you do something every day or every other day, it sticks with you. There's a shorthand, you do it faster, you do it better. Because when you're going in and you're editing for the first time, or you're shooting, and you do that once every couple of months, you're learning all over again. When you go back in there, you're like, okay, and so then it becomes this daunting thing, and then it's hard every time, and then you're just not going to do it,
Yeah.
So, and the only other thing I would say kind of along those lines is, if you're thinking of doing this, if you want to jump in, if you want to have a video channel, for instance, or a podcast, commit to a certain amount. Don't just like, I want to do this, let me give it a shot. Commit to at least 10. Commit to 10 episodes, and in a confined amount of time is ideal, but commit to 10 episodes before you decide whether or not you're good at it, you want to keep doing it, whether you should be doing it, whether it's netting you any kind of result. Commit to at least 10 to say, because until you do that, you can't come out the other side knowing much of anything. You do 1 or 2 episodes, who knows what contributed to something not working or maybe kind of working. But when you have those data points and you know what it feels like to do 10 episodes in a month, let's say, well, then that lets you know, like, that was insane, I can't do that again. Okay, well, maybe we scale back, or that was exhilarating. Yeah. But I would recommend those things for sure.
I absolutely 100% co-sign on what he said. And I have said this quote so many times, but Marie Forleo, she says, clarity, it doesn't come from thoughts alone. It comes from engagement. It comes from action. And that is absolutely the truth. I've always learned the best when I did. I've always gained clarity about what's working, what's not, after I've seen the result of my actions. So yeah, man, just creating that habit and turning it into a craft. It's like whatever you do with desire and passion and interest will inevitably improve along the way.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Big time.
Jason, how do people connect with you, work with you directly, follow you on social, watch your YouTube channel, all that jazz, man?
Absolutely. thejasonscroft.com is my site. It's got the podcast on it and all sorts of stuff about me. YouTube channel, you can just look up The Jason Croft. The Jason Croft Show, you can find that. connect up and
There you
enjoy.
go. Awesome. Jason, I appreciate this, man. This is great.
Absolutely.
Everyone else, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Pathways to Success. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes as well as YouTube and share this out with everyone that you know. Connect with Jason, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Pathways to Success.